What we all want when our child's sick, or what we all want when we're sick, is we want the reason, right? We want the cause, we want to know why. And so that's really difficult for parents because they find out their child has autism, whether it be through a K-12 eligibility process, whether it be as young as 2 years old from a medical doctor. And parents want to understand, why did this happen? And yet we really don't know why. Very young age, I knew without a doubt that I would go into the field of teaching. I can remember teaching my dolls and teaching my younger brother, and was just always fascinated with just teaching and having students. And so when I was 12, my parents adopted my brother, and he has disabilities. Watching my parents and watching my brother and watching that experience in school, and seeing teachers that really just nurtured him and loved him, and teachers where he was a challenge and it was very difficult. And so I would see teachers be incredible, and teachers and other children and students really struggle with understanding him and understanding how to love him. And so very early on as a teenager, I recognized that I wasn't just going to be a teacher, but I was going to be a teacher for children with disabilities. All of us can reflect on teachers that have made a significant impact in our lives. And so many times it's not the teacher that taught us the content area. We wouldn't say it's because we loved this content. Most of the time, what we will share with each other is, this teacher made a difference because they cared about me. I know they cared. I may not remember the biology, the chemistry, the math, but I know that teacher cared. And that's the same thing that parents want. Parents want to know that when this teacher is speaking to them about their child and speaking hard truths and coming to them and saying, we need to, we need to discuss this possibility of a disability. Let's take the child through an eligibility. Let's review, let's discuss your child. What a parent wants at that moment is not to know that you know the content area. Now, they want to know that, and that's important. But what they want to know is that you care about their child, that you're on the same team, that you recognize they're the parent, and that you really come along beside them, that you partner with them, that you communicate, that you love them. And so that's so important, and we really focus on that within our discussions, our classroom discussions, within the readings, when we look at how can we as teachers, how can we as a future teacher impact families and parents. So many times it's that relational aspect, to really let them know that you love their child. It's so important as researchers, as educators, to not only be informed ourselves, but to inform parents, to inform the stakeholders in the community that interact with children with autism. So when we think about the information in public, in the field of autism, even when you Google autism and you start looking at research, whether it's just a Google search or if you really go and deep research autism, there's so much information out there, so much, and there's so much misinformation out there. One of the most probably harmful beliefs is that there's a cure for autism, and that's misinformation. There is no cure for autism. So the misinformation, absolutely, as educators, we have such a responsibility to not just educate the child, but to really support the parent. I've seen this with family members, and I've seen this with parents, just the struggle, and they'll go through their mind and they'll reflect, what did I do? What did I eat? This research said this, and so, this study said that when I, digested this or ate this during my pregnancy, maybe I was the cause of autism, and so, or for my child. So again, it's so important that we continue to focus our research on not only causes, but also on supportive measures. Throughout my research, one verse that really has continued to come to mind so many times, and that I continue to focus research and my studies and discussions on, is Galatians 3:28, that we are all one in Christ. And that really speaks to the inclusion of everybody, the inclusion of children with disabilities. I think that we absolutely have a responsibility to have an awareness of our biblical truth about individuals with disabilities and individuals with autism. I will often end my very last class by prayer and just by reflecting on the amazing truth that for future teachers going out into the world, God already has children waiting for them. God has families waiting for these students that right now are 19, 20 years old, and they're learning the content and they're learning about the eternal value of what they're doing and what they're going to do in their future career.